Morning everyone. Today I'm going to try and trace back a lead that comes from the starter. Somebody's done a manual override in the past and I think I've cut the cable putting this charger on the dashboard. So I had a mechanic around this morning. He wasn't here to fix it, he was just here to see what was wrong with it, and he's told me what's wrong with it, but it's up to me to fix it. So I'm gonna have to pull that glove box out again. I've got a voltmeter. I'm going to test to see if all the lines are active. Maybe it's just a bit of a snipping issue I've cocked up on, and we're gonna see if we can get this working. So I've got my engine starting again. Not that I can go very far with it, with the oil in the coolant, which is another, see the previous video, there'll be a link up there. So today I've got arriving the terminal adapters for my leisure battery, so I can finish the wiring of that. I'm just also gonna carpet this area here, get all that carpeted up, which means taking off the seat belt, taking off the seatbelt cover and bolts and everything. And I realized when I put this together in episode 1, there was a spacer that I should have used, which I didn't use, but I found it, so I'm gonna put the spacer in there. And the only reason I knew there was a spacer is that there's a spacer in this one, which I've already used. So this is already carpeted, did that last night. It's a piece of piss. Little bit of a joint issue, but if you're that close and you're going to make a comment on it, we can't be friends. Okay, and I ran it all the way up here, and I couldn't get. I got this pops off. There's a little screw in there. This just pops off, and inside of that is the sliding housing, and I couldn't get that off for love nor money. So I just sprayed over it. Hasn't affected it. It's fine. And I just put it all back together last night. So jobs basically are, I'm going to take this panel off today. I only put it on for spacing for this bed, so I knew where to put the USB LED light. So it's a USB charger as well. So I'm going to fix that to the panel, run the cable over the top so that I can have it ready to go in down where the leisure battery is going to eventually end up. So fun times. Glove box off first. Let's get this starter motor fixed while the outside starts warming up. It's a bit nippy. It is only just after 9 o'clock this morning. I've been faffing about for the last hour, clearing memory cards and stuff. So yeah, it's all go. I'm enjoying this. It's surprising how much you can actually do. Oh, I'm gonna have a crack at the diesel heater. My mechanics also highlighted the fuel lines. He says don't use the line that goes to the fuel tank, because you could end up having bother. No, sorry, from the fuel tank to the fuel filter. He says don't use that because it'll have issues with airlocks into the engine. He says use the return feed from the overflow, from what the engine doesn't use, that gets returned, so it's like a loop. He says use that, so he's identified that for me. He's a good egg. So I'm going to make a hash of that today, put a T-junction in the fuel line that runs to the diesel heater, and then run that up as well. So a lot of crawling around today. I don't know how much of that you can see. Who's that? God knows. So yeah, I'm going to crack on and get started. So mostly it'll be time-lapse stuff. I'll speed through, but I'm not going to show you this trying to trace back this this starter motor issue. I'm just going to crack on, and I'll see you in a bit when it gets a bit more interesting. Probably to do with the diesel heater, as I'm starting cutting through the floor pan and the mat, which I've just finished cleaning. So I'm going to put the heat shield over the top of the mat. Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. Is it? I don't know, I'll have a think about it. Right guys, see you later. Love you. Chat later. So I don't even know what time it is. Oh, it's been an hour. Okay, so I wasn't getting any power to the starter motor, so I thought, well, the starter motor wasn't kicking off, so I thought I had an issue. Well, I did have an issue with a particular lead that I couldn't trace back. Well, I traced it back and I did a voltmeter loop test on it and it was fine. Now, one of the issues I've had is I had to buy, at the back of the ignition barrel, I thought this was faulty, which is the connector basically to the engine. So you put your key in here, it releases the lock for your steering lock, sends a signal, creates the connection loop, and then that goes down to your engine. Now this thing, this fucking Chinese tat thing, it was always a little bit too, well, it always popped out. And in the previous video I put a bit of glue in it and I said I rue the day that I'll probably have to hammer this back out, which is today, probably 3 days later. The problem with these Chinese or these cheap eBay barrels, which are about 19 quid, they're great in theory, however they're just a bit too, this housing, this black housing is too long. Alright, so as you can see in there, I have just hacksawed about 1 millimeter or 2 off. It's not pretty. I'm going to put a little dab of paint on it. It's aluminium, it's not going to rust. None of this is going to rust, just for aesthetics. But I've shaved off 1 millimeter off this housing, which has now allowed me to push it all the way back in and allowed the spring in here. This is the, when you change your locks, you do a drill hole in here, and I've done a video on this in the past. All right, I think it was my first video. It was a terrible video, way too long. In here you push through the spring, which allows you then to take the barrel out. Now there's plenty of videos on how to do this. Again, my video does that. But this Chinese 20 quid with 4 locks just didn't fit all the way down, so it was only always now and again making contact, and you push your key in further, and it didn't really have an effect because this black housing is too big, which meant it wasn't getting flush in here to this connector. So I spent a tenner on this, which I didn't need to. All I needed to do was hacksaw this off to push it in closer, and I didn't. Now I don't even need to glue it because now it's sitting flush. So if you do get these and you're finding that when you take your key out, the whole thing comes out with it, right? These cheap things, it's either because you had an immobilizer originally. This did have an immobilizer, and I took that out because it wasn't wired to anything. It wasn't even working. So I've taken so you can see here, there's an immobilizer lip that would have sat round further, which is fine. But this then wouldn't have fitted at all. So these are immobilizer free, basically. And you want to just make sure you trim that to get it flush. And now I've got to put all this back together, which is even harder because I haven't even got my seat in. But I don't really, well, I'll have to do it. So there you go, guys. Trim these to get this to fit to that to allow you to start your vehicle. I haven't blown a fuse. I've checked those fuses 3 times. I've even took the glove box off again just to make sure it wasn't something down that end. It's not. It was this fucking thing. 20 quid, an hour's worth of effort, and a tenner on a replacement part that I didn't need. So I'm just going to keep it in there. Right. Let's get on to job number 57,000. And this battery's complaining and it's changed, so I'm going to swap that out. See you in a bit. Just a quick update. I've just put the steering back together, steering column shit thing back together, and the screw bit that I use to get the stalks off and on is a T10 6-pointed doofer. All right, so I have this old toolbox for years, and I showed you. So I've got a green one I showed you in a previous video, but this actually is in an old toolbox I had that has these various bits. So you need a T10. You can probably get away with a flathead. There is that option there. But yeah, T10 is the way to go if you want accuracy and you don't want to sort of thread the points on it. Anyway, right. I'm putting it off. But it has to. I have to do it. Let's just get it done. Do I need to do it today? Do I need to do the diesel heater today? Or I don't. Nah, fuck it. Let's. No, not today. I can't. I haven't got the bottle. I'm gonna bolt the bed in once I've put in the USB light fitting into the panel and take the panel off, and then put the bed in permanently. Oh, before I do that, I've got to carpet the wheel arches. I've enough to do today, I think. I'm just shitting myself. I can't even get the. I can't even do the diesel heater today. The reason for it is I haven't got my leisure battery fully wired up yet, so I can't even power her in. So that's my excuse today. So right, let's get this wheel arch carpeted, and then let's get the panel off. I'll have to do the panel first, and then get the wheel arch carpeted, and then put it all back together with the USB light fitting, the USB charger light fitting, and then we'll crack on with that. I'll have to put the glove box back together as well. So glove box first and all that crap, and then we tidy up of all the stuff that's in here, and I might just put the driver's seat back in as well, because I'm not doing the diesel heater yet. I haven't got the balls. I haven't got the confidence yet. I haven't got the kit. I haven't got the kit. See you in a minute. Shit. I'm a bit all over the place today. There's just, you know what I mean? There's just so many things to do. So I am going to put the seats back in. I've got everything I need to do here. But before I do put this passenger seat back in and take it out for another day for this diesel here, I'm just going to put that away for now. What I'm going to do is take all this out, cover it, get it ready, and at least this is done then. So we'll just go through this. It's basically a bolt there, a bolt there, a bolt here, and a screw there, and this pops forward. It just comes off. All right, it's quite tight, and these clip off as well. So I'm going to clear some space, put this in, put the diesel heater away for another day when I'm a bit further on. Don't need it now. I'm not scared. You're scared. All right. I'm sure it's a piece of piss. I've looked at videos. I just need to make sure that the ground underneath here is sorted. And again, this isn't a priority just yet. What is a priority is getting this back livable. I can always come back to this, and I'll leave the wiring ready for it as well. So this is one of the risers I was telling you about. I didn't actually put that on this bolt down the bottom here, so I'm going to fix that today when I put everything back together. So while the passenger seat's out, it's better to, you've got the room, pull all this off, get in there. You can make a mess of it around trim wise at the side here, because there's going to be a big panel. So without further ado, let's switch you back to time-lapse mode, because you don't need to see me screwing away. That's a bit tight. That'll do. Alright, so see you in a minute, guys. Yeah, sorry if this is a bit higgledy-piggledy, but when you've got everything to do, you're just trying to tick off things, as many things as possible, because realistically I'd like to get using this van again maybe early next week. Even though I've got oil in the coolant system, it's still sort of semi-drivable for short distances, and I do need to get to work on Wednesday, so fecking around with the diesel heater isn't going to tick any boxes just yet. So I'm going to stick the radio on. Can't do that while I'm filming because copyright. Not that the channel's monetized with my 13 subscribers. And thank you for my friends and family that have done that. If there's anybody else coming across this channel, I wouldn't mind a subscribe. Any suggestions, any ideas, anything you've noticed I'm doing wrong, go on, shut up, Twitter. We'll catch you in a bit. Alright, let's switch to time-lapse mode. What I've decided to do is, because that's quite hollow, I'm just going to run, I've drilled 2 holes in, as you see me do earlier in my time-lapse. Given it a lick of paint, and then what I've done after that is I'm going to put the 12mm rubber grommets that I used to protect the cable going through the engine cab into the cab area. So I'm going to put the 12mm rubber grommets around it and just feed it through, rather than having the cable sort of look ugly, because I can then sort of sit it back a bit. And also I'm going to have to create a earth point there as well. So I'm just going to drill a small pilot hole and then put a bigger screw in there to bolt the earth cable from the leisure battery when my terminals arrive today from Amazon. So I'm just letting the paint dry. I'll put the grommets in, feed the cable through that seatbelt strut kind of support arm. I've painted all the little exposed metal parts because when you're sleeping in here it does get quite moist. I hate that word. It can get quite humid. And then I just didn't want any rust forming on any exposed areas. It was mainly where they took the divider out of from the van when obviously it was originally designed to be a commercial vehicle. So that they've taken off the partition, but they've just basically left loads of grinder marks on it. So I've just painted it over just to protect it. So I'm going to let that paint dry and then come back to it with the carpet. And I've already trimmed the carpet ready to go. Just need to take off that cap off the top. Yeah, so while that's drying, I'm going to put this passenger seat back in because I don't need it out anymore. I'm done with that side of the van, so I might as well get started on that. What I also did was just raised up the base a bit. I used the space, I think I mentioned it earlier, I can't remember, but I created just lifted it up a bit so that when it does spin it's not catching, because what I noticed was it was catching on this bolt here. That's why it was loosely put in, this bolt, but now that I've put a spacer and riser in there, the base just spins like a dream. So I've yet to use it in anger. This was a Caravan's model. I'll show you. Caravan's T4 double seat swivel, right hand drive, which is what this van is. A little panic, I guess, there. So it doesn't even say which is front. Does it matter? I suppose it doesn't matter. It's an exact. Yeah, I don't know which way is it. Oh, one of the bolts just slipped, and another one just slipped. So I'm going to put the seat back in, just basically to get more room, because I'm going to be putting the bed in next anyway. And then once I've done the carpet, put the passenger seat back in, the driver's seat back in, and we're good to drive the van again. Yeah, so I'll catch you in a bit. Bye. Had a bit of a mare today. Don't know if you recognise these. These are part of your seatbelt assembly, and they sit in this space up here at the top. So I took mine apart. Well, I can't remember. I just took the bolt off and took the cover off, and everything just fell to bits. And there's a bit of silicone sealant or some sort of glue in there as well. So somebody's obviously botched a repair on this. So I've had to go to the scrapyard. And not only have I had to go to the scrapyard to get a replacement, which cost me 20 quid, 27 quid on eBay, I had to go get some long Allen keys because the bolts for these are tight, really tight in there. So I needed something that had a bit of leverage. So I paid £7 for the tool. And while I was there, I managed to snag a seatbelt cover, top cap bit, for free, pretty much. Well, that and this seatbelt housing was £20, which is a shame because this morning I just bought one seatbelt cover, bolt cover for the van. I paid £6.95 for it. It's coming from Germany, but it's already been dispatched. They were quick on it, the Germans, so I couldn't even cancel the order. So now I've got two. Sorry, these things. This just sits over the top. I'm fussy. I like everything to be done right. So it's all in all. This one's to go back on once I've put everything back in place. So this is going in the bin because it's wrecked, and put everything back together. Nice and carpeted. Looks really well. Just got to put the wee flap on. Well, just really got to put everything back together. So this is out now, all carpeted, and then we can move on to the next job, which is pretty much cutting out the holes for the bed. And what I'm going to do is measure. I'm going to cut holes in the frame, and then I'm going to. But before I do that, I want to measure how far away they are from objects to make sure I'm not drilling, making life hard for myself underneath the van. I was going to carpet that left, as you're looking at, or the driver's side wheel arch at the rear, but that's going to be covered in a cabinet anyway, so there's no point in wasting fabric on that. So I'm definitely going to need to do the one on the left, though, on the passenger side, because you can actually see that under the bed, and I'm not going to box it off or anything. There's no point. So I'll just carpet it. Yeah, so let's get this back together. Put my seat belt up, put the driver's seat back in, and then I've got a van I can drive again. Not very far, because obviously the oil and the coolant issue. But yeah, I'll catch you in a minute. I'll put the video on so you can see where I'm at. Let's do some time lapse again. You must be bored of this stuff. Alright, any questions you have on the build, the next stages, etc., just leave a comment in the section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, back in a bit. Right, next on this job list today, there's been a lot of driving around. I had to get some bolts to fit, so I've opted for M15s, quite chunky ones, with nuts and bolts at the end, washer on the top, washer on the bottom. So they're M15s. I've got a 60mm and 100mm. I was going to try and get an 80 just as an option, but they don't have them in. So whatever works in terms of when I drop through the van, great. So 100 or 60. So we'll see which works. Now to get through that frame, I'm going to use a step tool. So these are high strength steel things, HSS. So I've got a couple of donor ones to get me started. So I've got two 12s just to start the whole process. I don't envisage much problems with the van, to be honest, but this frame here I've marked out. So we've got a point from here to here, which is about 18.5 centimeters, and then I'm going to do another one here, and then similar here as well. Now I've been underneath and measured. I've got plenty of room. There's a support strut that runs just parallel there, and I've got the exhaust here, so the gap is, I can get a spanner underneath. I've measured it out, she's all straight. So what I'm going to do then is just start the process of drilling under here, and just because those are 16mm, sorry, M16s, those are 16mm diameter, and I bought a new 16mm drill bit as well just to get me through. Probably should have gone a mil bigger actually, but no, let's just keep it snug. So we're going to start the drilling process. I've dropped the tyre, as you can see, just out of the way. Tyre's out of the way. So I won't puncture that, and we'll just get cracking. Crack-a-lacka. Should be fun. I should have maybe took the seat off and get underneath. Yeah, for future reference, guys, don't nail your seats in. I'm not taking it out because it'll just wreck the holes, because it's only plyboard and quite secure. Drilling in and out of plyboard, it's not great. So let's get this started. Wish me luck. I'm going in.